Good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Thank you all for being here today. And I appreciate you taking time out of your afternoon to be here and learn a little bit more about what your organization will be doing for you over the course of the next year. Before we get into our agenda, we've asked Logan Best to come and give our mission.
Hi, everybody. My name is Logan Best. Yeah, is this on? I serve as Assistant Director for Academic Internships at the Center for Career Services. And what I'm going to talk to you a little bit is how we have embedded the Ignatian Reflection process into our internship course. So Ignatian pedagogy is really central to the mission here at John Carroll. And the Ignatian Reflection process involves having an experience, reflecting back on that experience, taking action, and evaluating. And we embed that into the reflections that our students do throughout their internship. So the questions that they answer, things like that. And for me, it's really, really inspiring to read their reflections, give them feedback, ask them additional questions, and really learn how this shapes their stories professionally, academically. Thank you.
Thank you, Logan. So we are also very fortunate to have Emily Butler, Associate Professor of English, here to give us an update on the provost search. So Emily, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Sorry, we won't take very long. You are about to get a written update on all of this, but I have a chance for people to be able to pose initial questions and so on about the provost search. First of all, the committee was formed early in the summer, and there was a very long kind of quiet period, nothing really happening, and then suddenly things happening very quickly, and me trying to get them to reply to things right away. So the members of the committee deserve thanks and applause. So if you see Brandy Manzak, probably here somewhere, I'm not sure, but she's the staff rep on the committee. Certainly you should feel free to talk to her if you have questions, or you're welcome to contact me. We've also got Mark McCarthy from Student Affairs, Jacob Shook, who's the president of the Student Union, and then the other faculty reps are Brendan Roseman from Communications, Chris Shield from Biology, and Bill Elliott from Economics and Finance. So if you see any of those people, please thank them, because they were very generous with their time over the summer, especially when I wanted them to reply things right away. We need to get going, so they really deserve some thanks. We are working with Isaacson Miller, which is the same firm that URC used for the presidential search, and that's partly because they know Michael Johnson pretty well now, and the provost is someone who's going to have to work very closely with him, and be someone where he can kind of trust this person to make a lot of decisions if he's away and that kind of thing. The general timeline, so we have meetings with Isaacson Miller scheduled for early October as kind of a calibration meeting where they will bring us some of the kinds of prospects they are looking at, just get our sense of what they're doing so far. Should they be looking a little bit differently and so on. So it's really just so that they get a little more guidance before they present us a shorter list of candidates. And so in November, we will meet with them to get that list, and that's when we will pick the people who will be invited for airport interviews, which will happen in December, the week after finals. And so we expect that then in January there will be finalists on campus, and so it's most likely February when we would know the outcome of the search, I would think. I think Michael would love it if there was someone who could start mid-year. It's probably more realistic that someone would start in the summer. Presumably if there's someone in an academic position, they would be able to just up and leave in the middle of the semester, but you never know. What we are planning to do between now and the early October meeting with the search firm is that we'll have some forums on campus. So part of the written update that you're going to get is that I will reply to IMC, who is kindly putting up a web page for us that will include a form where you can send feedback. But we'll also have a couple of in-person forums where staff and students and faculty can talk to us a little bit more about things they're interested in. You will be able to see the Isaacson Miller ad, which is live, and they are using when that web page goes live. But we want to also make sure that you're able to talk to us. I don't know how much time there is for questions or anything like that, but certainly in general, you're welcome to contact me. I'm just ebutler@jcu.edu in the English department. Maybe I should go to something else. Yeah.
Does anyone have any questions? Thanks, Emily.
Thank you.
We have one final guest speaker today. Jennifer Rick, Assistant Vice President for Human Resources, is here to give a update on our team.
Hi, everyone. I don't have a picture yet, so that's why there was no picture. Coming soon, though.
Can you turn up that mic a little bit?
Turn it up.
There you go.
Speak into it.
That's good.
All right, so I wanted to give some updates from the HR team and some things that we're working on, as well as some things that impact you as employees of John Carroll University. So first and foremost, I want to start with the great news that we were recognized as North Coast 99 winners. This is the third year in a row that we have been recognized, and we're in great company. It's for the top 99 employers in Northeast Ohio, and they're specifically looking at our ability to attract and retain top talent, challenge and provide some meaningful work to our employees and staff development, the total rewards that we offer, as well as our organizational support and culture. So while we do an application in which we tout all of our successes, the real way that we get selected is through surveys, which are by you. They're kind of thought about randomly. So thank you if you participated in that survey process, because obviously your responses supported us being part of this very selective group. So I want to spend a quick moment talking about performance management, specifically for the exempt people, because we're in our performance management window. So the forms opened up for you to start the process on August 15th, and they continue through October 31st. This is an 11-week process for a 5-step process. So, or I should say 11-week timeframe for a 5-step process. What I would recommend is 11 weeks is a long time, and there's different times within that 11 weeks that your team will be crazy, or your team will have a little bit of a lighter calendar. So work with you and your supervisor to come up with a time frame for you to complete the process. I would recommend if you are a supervisor that you carve out time on your schedule to complete that, so that you're not working late into the evening. Really hold this as a sacred time to reflect upon the employee's performance throughout the year. For non-exempt staff or hourly staff, we're staying on our schedule of honoring your anniversary date with the performance evaluation. There is a 40-day window. Again, I would recommend talking with your supervisor to come up with a time frame to collaborate on that process. Just to remind you of the process itself, you want to start by reviewing your job description, making sure that your job description is up to date if there's been significant changes. We do have a template that's found on our HR website under the performance management category. You're going to, as the employee, start the process, so your feedback comes first. So tell us about your strengths, your challenges, your opportunities. Then your supervisor will see that via an electronic process, and then provide their feedback and provide performance criteria ratings. Then the most important part, which is the conversation. And the conversation really needs to make sure that you're in agreement, that you understand the evaluation, make sure you understand opportunities over the next year, and then finally setting some goals that are going to be achieved. The last step, of course, submit to human resources. We will be giving division vice presidents regular updates on completion. We're not going to start the daily reminders until October, but we're trusting that you and your supervisor are collaborating on a time frame that this is going to work for your schedule. Because we would hate on Halloween for you to be here doing this at home with your families giving out trick-or-treat. So just some quick things, what's new for 2018 in the evaluation process. We are going to be assessing leadership competencies under leadership skills, coaching, and delegation. This will only be seen on those who have direct reports. So if you don't have direct reports, you will not see these 3 questions. Now, I know that was a little bit of an eye test to see what was the actual questions. These are the evaluations, and again, you're going to be rated from consistently exceeds expectations to does not meet expectations on the low end. Give me a second just to review those. The other thing, just to mention, this is very rarely an issue for us, but HR will review overall ratings that does not meet expectation. That's the lowest rating. And it'll be a hard stop within the system. So once the supervisor submits that overall rating, not a line item rating, but an overall rating of does not meet, it'll come to HR so that we can talk to the supervisor, make sure that there's been warnings, there's been some kind of notice to the employee that they're not meeting expectations. This isn't a surprise to them. And then also help you to set a performance improvement plan so that we can help the employee rebuild their success. The last thing, just a reminder, the performance management system is an on-base tool. We log in via either the click that's on the email link or on Banner self-service. You're going to use your JCU full email address as the username, so you do need to put @JCU. If you've never used the system before, the password is your Banner ID, which, like example, starts with a B or an A and 00 and then some numbers after that. My sincere warning to you all is save often. The system, you've probably all been burned. I'm seeing nods of heads, yes. The system, when you're typing, it's not realizing there's activity, so it locks you out. So just save often, okay? At least every 5 minutes as a best practice. For challenges, you can call Jim Cohan in IT. Any questions about performance management before we move on? So I just want to talk about a few policy updates that we have posted for comment or soon to be posted for comment. The first of which is the staff vacation policy. This is not posted yet, but it'll be posted shortly. The basic gist, this is just an update, it's not a change. And the basic update is that it's reversing some of the revisions made in 2017, which reduced the vacation for exempt new hires. So right now we kind of have those who were hired after January 2017 and those who were hired before. What we have found is that we're going to align both of those. So there's no longer going to be 2 separate. What we're going to do is just make the same practices for those hired before January 2017 to be the new standard for everyone. The reason for that is we found that reducing vacation time was not helpful to our recruitment efforts, especially among those who work in higher education. We were seeing some challenges with retaining people, and we were doing a lot of exceptions to the process. So if you're making a lot of exceptions to a policy, you probably need to change the policy itself. So we're going to go back to what we used to do. I will say that the positive impacts of the January 2017 revisions, like PTO benefits for part-timers, will not be changed. That will stay the same. Anybody who's going to be impacted will be notified of the changes once the policy is finalized. And again, it will be posted for review. However, if it's good and we get through that 30 days, it can be effective as of September 1st. The other policy that's posted that you should be familiar with and take a look at is our travel policy. Now, the travel policy really just sets some requirements and procedures related to making travel arrangements for university business to ensure safe and cost-effective travel. The thing that I want to make sure as you're reading, and it's setting some limits and setting some guidelines as far as mileage, and it's setting some guidelines in terms of how much meal allowances are per day. is to make sure that you understand that supervisory approval is the key factor in this. So anything that you are suggesting has to be pre-approved by your supervisor. And the discretion regarding whether to grant exceptions to what's posted in the policy lies with the supervisor. Okay, so we recognize, and I think the policy committee recognizes, yeah, sometimes when you're traveling to Paris, you're not going to get away with $40 for dinner. Okay, so, but that's for your supervisor to talk through with you as an employee. The last thing just to say about the travel policy is that department heads may develop even more internal policies in regards to making sure that our financial resources are being used effectively. Lactation accommodation is posted. This is a standard, kind of lactation policy, but it's good news and it's appropriate for us. The one thing I would just say is work with HR. If you have any questions, we'll work with the facilities group and we'll work with space management to make sure that you have a good space. But my ask of everyone is just to be respectful of the signs that say knock before entering. We are trying to control key access to those lactation areas, but sometimes there's keys out there we don't know about, so if there's a sign posted, just be respectful. And then this isn't new, but I just want to say it out loud again because it's great news. We are a tobacco-free campus. That's effective August 1st of this year. The one thing I would just recommend is let's be good neighbors to our local community. So while this policy does not cover cars, it does ask that you're not in local areas, adjacent areas to smoke. So we don't want a big crowd of smokers right outside our gates. Some other HR initiatives I just wanted to share really quickly. We have committed to a compensation study for this year. We currently are soliciting proposals from qualified firms who are experienced in the development of job classification and compensation programs. That was sent out in August, or those are due back October 1st. We're asking for a spring 2019 completion date for the study. What we're asking of the firms is to evaluate our current classification and compensation programs, to conduct some market analysis, recommend benchmarks, and suggest a new salary structure for the staff, identify risks, and make recommendations around implementation. And I want to stress it's make recommendations. I think once they make recommendations, we'll have to figure out what's financially possible, how strategically we can move this forward, in what time frames. But it's good news. Other things that we're working on, we have our benefits fair and open enrollment coming up. The benefits fair is on October 25th, and again, these will be posted inside JCU so that you can mark your calendars. Good news, free flu shots, avoid the flu, as well as biometric screenings, which are part of your JCU Fit portal points systems. The other thing, open enrollment is scheduled for October 29th through November 9th. We don't have specific information yet on the plans and offerings, so more to come on that front, but that's the dates that we're working for that process. The HRIS updates, we are working very hard with John Sully's IT team to create an employee onboarding process that's electronic so that new hires can receive their paperwork electronically and fill stuff out, and it'll hopefully, it's a stepping stone. It's not a perfect program yet, but it's a stepping stone in the right direction. And it's also going to help the hiring managers create a smooth onboarding experience. So there's a little bit more fluid communication via this on-base product. We, like many of you, are in the process of Banner 9 updates and going through that training. So we're really taking this as an opportunity to clean up some employee data. And we've also created some automations to allow for efficiencies. For example, student workers will now be automated. So that's exciting. And then finally, conflict of interest forms will be coming out in November. That's going to be an annual process in which you just identify if you have any financial likes companies that do business with John Carroll, among other things. And then finally, just mark your calendar. These are, of course, always online and they come through inside JCU, but we have some upcoming HR training series offerings that I'll let you read. And now I will pause for questions.
When they do the compensation evaluation, are they going to take a book of job descriptions and then is that how that works?
So generally, yes. So they look at our job descriptions, they might ask job analysis, and that's actually part of the request for proposals for them to tell us how they'll do it, because I think it's got to be a fit in terms of, you know, what we can give time-wise versus what they want to do versus what we can afford, all of those types of things with those consultants. But yes, that is absolutely part of it, is to look at the job descriptions and consider that in creating benchmarks. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Jen. So Jen had come to staff council about a week and a half ago and asked our council to endorse some of the changes that were proposed for the leave policy. And we had a very robust conversation about what those changes would be, how they would impact our community, and we unanimously decided to endorse the policy. However, we also have 3 areas of concern that we shared with Jen, and we are in the process of figuring out how best to work through some of these areas of concern. So I realize the text is pretty small, but one of them has to deal with how our long-term employees are recognized. Realizing it's really, you start at John Carroll, and then 25 years later, that's when you get basically your first recognition. So figure out ways to better recognize our community. Also, and talks with, or just discussions about prior service, and then also being very conscious of how this new change would impact our non-exempt colleagues and their morale. So the full endorsement will be posted to the staff council website, so I encourage you to go look for it there. This entire slide deck will be posted on the staff council website too. So it'll all be hyperlinked, so you'll go right directly to where you need to go. Do you have any questions about staff council's endorsement of the changes to the policy? All right, thank you. So we also, as an exec board, looked through the wonderful assessment work that was done last year, both the survey that many of you participated in, as well as the listening sessions that were conducted by our mission and advocacy committee. And based off of that feedback, staff council came up with 4 main areas for goals that we will be focusing in on for this academic year. So the first one, and I think this will probably be one that will always just kind of consistently be there, is identifying and clarifying our relationship with the senior leadership team. I think our relationship has come a long way, but I think there's always room to grow within any kind of relationship, even if it's strong. And that will be one area of focus. Another area of focus will be prioritizing advocacy for our body and our members. I can go a little bit more into depth with some of those examples. One of the things we recognized, and this was kind of a moot point now, because I know EdPEC sent out the slavery task force report, as well as the strategic plan for identity, diversity and inclusion. That would actually be one of our points of, like, can we release this information? We'll say the same thing with our Great Colleges to Work survey, which has not yet been released, as well as when the HLC report is completed. So that will be, we'll ask for that to be formally released to our community as well, so we can look at it. We're going to look for, we know that one of the areas of advocacy that a lot of our staff asked about was areas of compensation and work-life balance, as well as how people can use their time with John Carroll. Sometimes they feel like they aren't able to come to community forums or staff council programs or events or training. So that's another area of our concern for the upcoming year. And then one of the other aspects is that we want to post all of our goals to our website and then track how we're doing, so you can keep us accountable to how we're serving our constituents in our community. So these will all be on our website as well. The next one is working and building off of our wonderful community building, networking, and recognition needs or programs that we have. I think we've done some wonderful work to improve morale through two great committees. We're going to continue working through those. And I know we'll have an update from Lisa Ramsey and Salo about their plans for the upcoming year for community building, networking, and then recognition. And then finally, one of the things we've never really focused in on was developing relationships with the other two segments of our campus, faculty, and then students. We figured that it would probably be a great opportunity to connect with them. We don't necessarily know where those talks are going to lead, but we just feel it's a really good thing to have consensus and build community amongst all the different components of our campus. So you'll be able to see all the individual goals on the website once we post it. Does anyone have any questions about Brian?
Yeah, for goal number 1, can you explain, Eric, where that is right now?
Where it is right now?
Yeah, the reporting relationship.
I think it's a really good question. I think if we look historically, I think it's far better than what it was 2-3 years ago. I think, and speaking for, I think the council, and even the assessment board that bears it out, communication between staff, council, and staff and the upper administration, that senior leadership team, I think has drastically improved. Whether it be through university forums, through the emails that we receive, through the collaborative process, through our strategic planning. I think there's been marked improvement with our communication and relationships. We are cognizant that we want them to be involved with certain areas of our programs. Case in point, I think Salo mentioned this at our May full staff meeting where we did recognition awards. The senior leadership team helped immensely with that process. And I think when you reach out to them and ask them to kind of encourage their colleagues, the applications, I think, tripled. So, and then having them at that event was wonderful. So, and I know in our initial conversation we had with Dr. Johnson when he first came to campus, he wants to have an open line of dialogue with the staff council and community. And I met with Dennis yesterday about our relationship with the senior leadership team and using him as a conduit. It was a very open and honest conversation, and I think it was a really good one. So I think it's better than it was 2 or 3 years ago for sure. Answer your question?
Yes.
Other questions? So we're going to go into committee reports, and I know John Ambrose cannot be here today, so he asked me to fill in for him and giving a report for the Communication Assessment Committee. The Communication Assessment Report, which is what we base off our goals off of, is on the website, and I encourage you all to look through it. It's actually really interesting to see what our community feels about John Carroll, about our morale, communication, and whatnot. If you have questions or have feedback for staff council, there are 2 ways to connect with us. The staff council website has a feedback form, and then staffcouncil@jcu.edu. We will do our best to respond back to you promptly. If the email is, you can say please be anonymous, or it can just be a quick response. The form, you have an opportunity to either fill your name out or leave it blank. And if you do fill out your form, we will make sure to put your name in. We will make sure that you receive a response directly from staff council. If you don't, we'll still post any response to the staff council website so people will know that we are responding back to your concerns. And then like I said, the priorities will be assessed on our staff council website, so you can see how we're doing over the course of the year. All right. Next is Lisa Ramsey with Community Building and Networking.
Eric. Hi, everyone. First, I just want to say a big thank you to the committee, James Burrows, Mike Merrick, and Logan Best. They've hit the ground running and done a really great job so far, dividing and conquering in terms of what we're planning to do this semester, or this year. So the signature events, we will be continuing. Everyone loved them, and Eddie did a great job last year with that committee, so we will continue with those. Mark your calendar so Tuesday, September 25th is our first happy hour at Bar Louie from 5 to 7. Then our first Friday coffee hour will be Friday, October 5th, starting at 8:30. This might be in Miller School of Business. To be determined, we will let that get figured out shortly. And then Wednesday, October 24th will be our first lunch hour from 12 to 1 in the underground, and look for some kind of chili concoction situation. So maybe it'll be chilly weather then, fall, we don't know, when to go. And then some of the other things to kind of be looking forward to. Oh, I should back up and say that we will continue, jumping to the bottom here, we will continue offering signature programs 3 a month. So 1 in each of the categories already mentioned. So look forward to those, and as soon as we get dates together, some of those dates are almost finalized, we will release those information to you as we know them. Then again, back by popular demand, will be the homecoming tailgate voucher opportunity for staff to participate and enjoy the food trucks on Belvoir and bring lots of sunshine with you. So that you'll hear a lot more about that coming up on Saturday, October 6th. In addition to the door decorating competition, I did not mention it here, but we will be facilitating the door decorating competition to get your Blue Streak spirit going, get your thoughts together on what kind of theme and development you want to have for your office. And then we do understand that students love competition, and we like competition as well, it turns out. So in addition to the soups and stews event that was popular last year, we want to have a new Death by Chocolate competition event. So it's just a little preview, it'll be in the spring. So again, just be thinking about that. And as always, if you ever have any ideas for this committee, please contact me or one of our 3 members. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Next, we have Brendan Dolan, who is the Vice Chair for Membership, Governance, and Finance.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm Brendan Dolan. For those of you that have not met me yet, hello. I work in Residence Select, but I wear the hat of the Vice Chair for MGF, Membership, Governance, and Finance. So thanks in advance for the work to come for my committee. We are in the process of getting information together from last year's budget to then reallocate for all the committees again for this year's budget. So working on that timetable and getting that information out. The members of the committee have already had homework and have reviewed the Constitution and bylaws from last year, to then not do anything with them in the near future. So, but they are well prepped for any question you might have about our Constitution, any of our bylaws, our process, member status, anything like that. So please feel free to talk to any of us on the committee about those issues. And then our main event obviously is elections, which come next semester, but already starting to look towards the future for that. So if you have questions in advance or looking for other ways to get involved with staff council at a member level and looking to run for something in the future, please talk to any of us about any of the positions. We're happy to talk to you. But this is a little bit of our more quiet term for this council, for this subcommittee. So that's about it.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Brandon Manzak, who is Vice Chair for Mission and Ethics.
Thanks, Eric. And I would also like to just thank my committee, so John Brodigan, Melanie Moss, and April Skirka. We've met a few times now and are working on some exciting things as well. Probably the most exciting thing that we've worked on has been the Campus Colleagues program. We've onboarded 16 new staff members and paired them with colleagues. So for those of you in the audience who have helped in that process or served as a colleague, we can't thank you enough for helping support our staff members and helping them understand the mission of the institution. organization. So thanks so much for that. That being said, we need help. So we need more of you to volunteer and serve as campus colleagues. So we will be putting out links for that in the future. That'll be on the staff council website, as well as you'll see that on JCU.edu. So definitely please, volunteer. If you're not really sure what that means, we will have a description of that program out there for you to become more familiar with that. If you have questions, you can certainly contact anyone on our team. But we do appreciate you considering joining the Campus Colleague program. So something else we've been working on, once the results of the Great Colleges Survey is released, we will be setting dates for our listening sessions again. So we plan to host at least one this fall and one in the spring, but potentially more, so we'll keep you posted on that as well. And Eric already mentioned this, but we will have a large part of our focus this year will be around advocacy. So certainly if you have any comments or anything, any feedback that you'd like to share, I'd be happy to take that and send back to our committee and then, furthermore to the council. So and that's all I have to say for today. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And then we have Salvador Desno for our recognition.
Hi everyone, I'm Saul. I want to also start off by saying thanks to Mike, Katie, and also Kara, who've been very helpful in writing those work anniversary notes. If I have you, yours are late, so I'm sorry. The first 2 weeks have been a whirlwind, but yours are coming. The big news that I have today is that we want to start a staff notes, which is the equivalent to the faculty notes publication that has been out for about 10 years. So in it, we imagine us highlighting accomplishments of our staff, both full-time and part-time. That could be promotions, conference presentations, publications, service work, or contributions to the university in a variety of ways. We'll need help with this, and so if you're interested in helping us out with the drafting of this first newsletter, let us know. Direct your questions to me or anyone in our committee. And we'll have more updates about what we're changing in the springtime in January. So that's all.
Thank you, Salvador. And then Eddie Sheridan is going to give us an update on our employee resource groups.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eddie Carrion. I use he, him, his pronouns. I'm very privileged to serve as the chair-elect of Staff Council for this academic year. In addition to doing whatever Eric wants me to do, also in my bailiwick is facilitating the employee resource groups. Last year, under the auspices of Staff Council, we established the employee resource groups. We fully recognize as staff members, we bring our full selves to this work, how incredibly important it is for us to find community at work and recognize that there are some identities that we hold that sometimes feel alone and or sometimes even targeted, even at a place like John Carroll. So what we have done, among other things at the institution, is to establish opportunities through our employee resource groups, our ERGs, to create space, particularly affinity spaces for different identity groups, to allow them the opportunity to dialogue about shared experiences, to talk about what are policies and processes of the institution that impact that particular part of their identity, and to create opportunities potentially for mentoring and networking, which feeds back into the piece of community. So we will continue with 5 employee resource groups for this semester. Q at JCU brings together our LGBTQ+ staff members, invites them into community, and this particular group I know has done on-campus and off-campus events, lunches, outings, and how important that is for this particular community. Last semester, we also opened up this ERG to faculty colleagues, and we're heartened that they've chosen to join us in community. The Staff of Color ERG continues this semester. I know that they've had several lunch meetings taking advantage of the $5 lunch on Fridays in the dining hall, but also taking space in the underground to see each other, to recognize each other. The next three ERGs, we felt it was important. We work in an incredibly dynamic institution where we have an intergenerational workforce. And we recognize that we see the institution and bring ourselves differently given when we were born, and how important that has been for our colleagues in our different generations to make sense of their experience, to see each other in community, and to begin understanding and appreciating those who aren't in their generation. In the coming weeks, you will receive information primarily through Inside JCU, inviting you to participate in the ERGs. Again, it takes on different forms, whether it's a lunch meeting, some groups have chosen to read articles, others are planning happy hours or other events off campus. These are not required, and they thrive when folks like you all participate and choose to say, I want to be a part of some community. While there are plenty of opportunities to do that, we certainly hope that if you feel a desire to engage further in community, that you consider participating in one of our ERGs this year. Thank you very much.
So we also want to share what our upcoming meetings and our all-staff meetings will be. We are planning on meeting about every other month here at 2 p.m. And then same thing with our all-staff meeting, we'll have another one in January, and then our May one, which is the recognition celebration that we do annually on an annual basis. These are already on our calendar, but this list will be also listed on the website as well. For our new colleagues, every Friday, for those who don't know, is what we call Blue Gold Day. It's a way to celebrate John Carroll Blue Street pride and spirit. Our campus is encouraged to wear blue and gold, JCU spirit wear, and to show how much you love this university. There are some guidelines that we worked out with senior leadership team a couple of years ago. I actually went to try to find this document online and it wasn't there, so I'm going to repost it. So it'll be there next couple of days. But it's basically be professional when you decide to wear blue and gold. I think it's a wonderful thing to show our community and show our students that our staff community loves this place as much as they do. So. Finally, this one is something I just kind of threw in there today. I received this email from Playhouse Square in my role, both as staff council, as well as my professional role in all my relations. We have a corporate membership with Playhouse Square where our members of our community can receive discounts for tickets. So I figured for those who are interested in going to Playhouse Square, they are having a sale now. Passcode's John Carroll. I think there are 5 or 6 different shows that are available right now. So I figured I'd share that with you since I had it. And then finally, we always have an open forum and questions. So I will open the floor to any questions that people might have.
Go back to that slide again.
This will be posted online when I get back to my office. And it will, like I said, all these things will be hyperlinked, so you can go directly to the link and then enter in the passcode. I think it's an ongoing, they'll just keep on adding new events. So, and the same passcode will exist. So you can always just kind of go back and see what's available. Right?
I have a public service announcement, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Thank you. My name is Brian Hurd. I'm with the Campus Police Department. Fairly obvious. We are in the midst of our distracted driver and distracted pedestrian awareness campaign, and I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. I have some little cards here. It's a pledge card, so if you sign this pledging not to walk or drive distracted, you'll be entered into a drawing. I'll be in the back or get us to the auditorium when we're done. You can fill out the card and get it back to me or our office. And you could win great prizes like an Apple Watch 3. There's only one of those, sorry. $100 Visa gift card, and a bunch of gift certificates to area restaurants. So the drawing will be, I think, next week, and we can work it out with student union. Yes.
For those of our community who are watching this live streaming, where would they get the card?
The cards are in the campus police office in the lower level, room 14 of the Recplex. We're trying to get them out in different ways. I thought this would be a way to grab a lot of folks here. Most importantly, signing the pledge to not drive and walk distracted, but you also can get great credits. So it's a win-win. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Any other questions or comments? Okay.
The ERG groups, I know we have some people that are rotating up, and anyone that's available that would be a co-facilitator for one of those groups would be welcome. You know, it's a great group, depending on which group you're in, but there's always need for facilitators. I mean, it's amazing when you have these meetings with people that you work with, and you're in the same group, and you're feeling the same way. You know, the baby boomers that you have your kids in school and you have your parents. So, you know, it's really something to hear other people on campus that are going through the same things you are. But it's also good to have some more people really participate in this group. So really looking to see where you fall in, maybe multiple groups. But really use those resource groups because they are a good source for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, John. If you are interested in getting involved with one or serving as a co-facilitator, I think there's a couple that are open. Please get in touch with Eddie. Oh,
Are there possible new hearings that you are thinking about?
Well, we recognize that our 5 employee resource groups certainly doesn't cover the gamut. When Salo led the effort last year to establish our ERGs, we identified some key identity groups that were important. Staff Council remains steadfast in its commitment to build community across campus. So we are continually evaluating our ERGs, and we're looking for opportunities, if there is certainly a sincere need, to establish groups, affinity spaces for folks who share different identities. I know last year we had a spiritual diversity interfaith group based on the recommendations from those co-facilitators and the folks who did participate. We really felt the need to have to reevaluate what the group, how the group was structured, and to see what better way that we can support those, particularly those who do not identify as Catholic, on a campus like our own. So that is an ongoing process. Other colleagues have surfaced ideas for groups, like, for example, individuals who are caring for ill or sick family members, right? To John's point, being in community with folks and recognizing that those are shared experiences. Born out of that is a recognition that you are not alone, which is, again, very important for the goals of the ERGs. Certainly not to put the burden on folks in this room, but if you do have ideas for affinity spaces or groups or identities that can be better served through an ERG, we very much welcome your feedback and your recommendations for the Staff Council to consider. For us, it is very important.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, thank you all again for being here today. I hope to see you next Wednesday morning when staff are invited to breakfast with Dr. Johnson as part of the inaugural celebration. And again, if you ever have any questions, comments, concerns, Staff Council is here to serve you, our staff. So thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.